The CoinWeek Podcast is brought to you by PCGS, the standard in the rare coin grading industry. To learn more about how to submit your coins, visit their website at www.pcgs.com. This week on the CoinWeek Podcast, we are on the hunt for good advice on how to sell a dozen or so coins from our collection. We are joined by John Brush, president of David Lawrence Rare Coins. His firm buys coins from collectors and sells them at national and regional coin shows, on their website, and on eBay. The company has also conducted more than 960 internet auctions on their website. I'm going to ask John how I can get rid of these unwanted coins without wasting my time or his. Next on the CoinWeek Podcast. Hi, John. Thanks for joining me on the CoinWeek Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Charles. I appreciate that.
The topic I'd like to talk about this week is what collectors should do if they're not interested in getting out of coin collecting as a whole, but want to divest themselves of parts of their collection. And I think the answer to that question is not so cut and dry. It really depends on the type of material you have, the price points, and how popular or specialized the coins are. So I'd like to talk to you and get your feedback as to what you would advise a collector like me to do.
Well, we deal a little bit with all different flavors of collectors and collections. Is kind of the way we kind of model ourselves around diversity. And not every collector can afford 94S dimes. I mean, the beginning coin collectors. I know as myself as a collector. I started out buying $10 and $20 Buffalo nickels, and that was a stretch for me. And so, there's a price point and a type of collection for every certain person. Every different kind of collector has a different budget. So that's kind of one of the things that we really kind of enjoy working with. It's just there's all different flavors from coins under $100, coins under $500, up to whatever. But there's a lot of different ways of handling that.
So let's say the area of my collection that I'm bored with are certified coins with a value of $100 or less. And I have about 20 or 30 pieces like this that I'd like to cut loose. What would you say is my most effective way to sell these coins?
When we're dealing with, like I said, we don't mind dealing with any different type of value plays. And that's why we kind of offer different tiers of the way we sell coins. As far as we have a limit of minimum value that we'll put into our auction of about $200. So any coins that are under $200, the way we look at it is we're happy to make outright offers on them. We probably have one of the largest offerings of coins under $200 or under $500 of anyone in the rare coin market, really. But we find that the best way, and for the person to really get the most out of a coin like that, is to just go ahead and directly sell it and move on. And we will look through. We receive packages here every day of coins that are under $200, and they're collections that can have coins over $1,000, and they have a $10 Mercury dime in their box. It's a little bit of everything. But when we get to coins under $200, we typically like to just go ahead and make an outright offer, because when you end up putting them on eBay and you're trying to sell them for people, or you're putting them into our auction, when you're working off of that, the dealer has so many expenses or whatever, it just doesn't really normally make financial sense for that coin to be an auction. If a collector wants to put it on eBay, it's a lot of work to do that, and that's kind of why we're set up that we'll make it easy. We do all that ourselves, but we're happy to sit there and say, okay, if we're going to sell a coin for $120, we'll pay you $100, $105, and we're happy to buy it, and we'll do our best to pay you as much as we can. But obviously, we don't try to build in a negotiating room. We're happy just to make an offer outright. If it doesn't work, we understand, but we just kind of try to make it easy, and we're happy to deal with those kind of coins, because every coin has a place. Every different value level has a different type of collector that's searching for it.
I don't know if you have a running tally of the numbers in your head, John, but what would you say without having an economy of scale, without a streamlined process of order fulfillment, digital imaging, discount rates with eBay or PayPal, what would you estimate the actual cost of the seller for listing, let's just say like an 1886 MS64 Morgan dollar or some similar type of coin on eBay? How much of that sale price do you think is getting eaten up by costs?
There's a lot of small costs that they just really add up. Because if you don't have a storefront on eBay, they charge more to list something for auction or whatnot, or direct sale. So let's say, it may be a minimum fee of a couple of dollars or something like that, but then when you end up adding up on the PayPal fee, because you basically have to accept PayPal, you do the listing fee. To figure out the imaging, the cost of what it takes to image it, you really have to have a flatbed scanner or something like that, but many times, the images just don't come out very well, and that really hurts the price that you get for the coin. You can't really just sit there and take a picture with your phone and put it on eBay, even though that's what some people do. It ends up costing money because people aren't going to be able to see what the actual coin looks like. We find that buyers really appreciate a good quality image before they're going to buy it, before they're going to be willing to part with, their hard-earned collecting money. And then when you take it to the post office, I can't even estimate how much your time is worth with that, because it can get really expensive and time-consuming to mail a package. It might cost you $5 or $6, and you probably want to put insurance on it because you probably don't want to self-insure and lose money if the package gets lost. But just for your own protection, you're probably going to be out $10 to $15 at a minimum, even just selling a $150 coin or even less. So that's why we tell people that if they want to list it on eBay, that's perfectly fine. We can't fault you for that. But, when you really look at the time that it takes to do it as somebody that's not doing it professionally and hasn't built up a scale for it, it really, it's time and cost prohibitive, in my opinion.
Well, that's definitely a cost that collectors need to keep in mind when they take a coin to a dealer and they say, well, how much can you give me for this? Because if it's a $50 retail coin on a great day and the dealer says, well, I can give you spot plus $6 or $10, they need to factor in all the other transactional costs, time costs, effort costs, holding costs for the inventory. And they need to keep that in mind when they consider the price that the dealer is going to be willing to pay for common material.
It is. It's not a cheap thing to do. I mean, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to really put together something to be able to really handle it in any kind of quantities. But in doing it individually, I did it on my own before I worked here and before I was in the coin business. And you know what? It was fun. I enjoyed doing it, but it is work. It's unfortunately not something that's an easy entry into these days.
So let's take it up a step and say, instead of talking about $50 or $150 coins, that we're talking about coins that are going to go for anywhere from $250 to $500 each. Not just one or two coins, but like a tranche from a collection that's like 10 or 20 pieces.
Kind of when we're at any coin over $250, we kind of look at it, if it's a bullion-related item or a common date Morgan dollar or something like that, it's a little bit different than if it's a rarer piece. Because when you look at a common date Morgan dollar or a common coin or a generic $20 gold piece, that's the kind of thing that you probably don't want to auction in general, because the commissions that any auction company charges you is going to be more than what we make on the market on those coins. When we're talking an MS65 or an MS66 Morgan dollar, let's say we pay $190 for them. You know what? We could sell you a quantity for $200 or $205. If you call and tell me you wanted 100 of them, I could sell them to you, even 200 at a time. But, it's the kind of thing that you'll make $5 or $10 per coin on those. So that's the kind of coin you put it into an auction, at the least someone's going to charge you 15%, and then you're out $30. So, those are the kind of coins that you probably should just sell outright. But when you get to a coin that's an 09S VDB or an 09S Indian cent, let's say an AU or any kind of coin that gets over $200, then you might want to consider, okay, the rarer the coin, just by the lower the mintage, just if you see a coin less frequently, it's probably a coin that's worth putting into an auction and selling it that way. We're happy to sit there and go through every coin and make you an outright offer and to make you an auction proposal. That's kind of the way we do it when we get something in hand. We try to give you every different angle of, okay, we can do this or we can do this. And we're happy to give you our opinion on which one will do better, because many times we kind of have a real gut instinct saying, this will definitely do better in auction, or this you should just sell outright, and we'll always tell you that. But I think that every coin has a different sales angle. If you're getting over $1,000, again, it's the same situation, that some coins are just better off. You may be better off selling outright, but it really comes down to the actual coin. But you really shouldn't even really consider an auction, in my opinion. So you get to $200, $250 coins if you're getting a fair offer.
How does a company get potential buyers into a consignor's coins? I think we've all heard the expression, sell the sizzle and not the steak. But I think coins are a little bit different, because your potential buyer has to recognize that particular coins are sizzling steak to begin with. And at these price points, there may not be that much to differentiate one coin from another. So I assume part of the strategy is exposing the material to the market, knowing which lanes a dealer has at his or her disposal to sell the coins, either to other dealers or waitlist customers or on their online platforms. So how far is it feasible to go in terms of, high quality imaging or in-depth writing? How much can your company go into on a coin like this in this price range and it still be viable for you?
You know what? We put descriptions on all of our coins, and we actually offer a couple of different things. We do a color and eye appeal. That's kind of the first thing that you see when you're browsing our coins. You're going to see we do a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a glass white, frosty coin, and 10 would be this is the darkest piece of charcoal that you've seen. And we also do an eye appeal scale where 1 is, okay, this coin's ugly, you really shouldn't put this in your collection, to 5 stars saying that this coin it's top 10%, this coin is a gorgeous eye-appealing coin. So that's kind of the first thing that you see when you're looking at our coins. And then especially on the expensive coins, we'll write a description on the coins. We're not afraid to sit there and say, okay, this is what we see when we look at this coin. The cheaper coins aren't all going to get descriptions. They're all going to have color and eye appeal, but we're not going to put a description on a coin. But we might try to say something about it if we deem it necessary, and the image doesn't really tell you the whole truth. So we try to put in as much information as we possibly can with that. I think that even with live auctions, I think you'll find that most of the time the cataloging is a necessary thing to many live auction companies, but I think what you're seeing is that people don't really necessarily bid because of what the catalog says. People bid because of the images and the quality of what the coin looks like. And they also bid because they see the presentation and they know they need that coin for their set. The registry set phenomenon has really taken hold to people that they don't really even care what the write-up says. In many cases, they don't really care what the coin looks like. You have a number of collectors that haven't maybe done the research into knowing what a coin should look like. And that's why they trust people like David Lawrence to offer coins that are deserving to be offered. And that's why we, make the effort to handpick the coins that we're offering, because we don't want to sell an ugly coin. Whether it really fits in that registry set, there might be an MS-68 Morgan dollar that we just can't offer because we don't like the coin. I don't want to sell coins that we wouldn't want to own to collectors. But when you're looking at an auction catalog, auction catalogs are more for the consigners, and that's one thing we learned that with the Richmond sale is that people like to read about coins, but it's not necessarily the biggest draw these days. The catalogs are huge expenses, and that's why I think that the angle of moving away from it, and that's why you see such huge internet presences that have the description is on the coin, and that will be there historically because people don't collect these huge libraries of catalogs anymore. Now everything's on the internet. You can see every description that was written about the coin historically on the internet. I can look up 20 different auction companies and see where these coins have sold when you have a really rare coin. And, and you can read about them. Do we have a huge library here? Yes, because there's not every catalog is listed yet, but I think we're getting to the point at one day that you're really going to be able to see even a lot of the really old historical auction catalogs in print over maybe at the Newman Numismatic Portal, where they're listing lots of old data. But I think we're gradually seeing this turn into the 21st century. I think the coin industry we're a slow moving group here, and I am one of them. But I think as we gradually see the hobby mature, I think that's kind of what I see in the future.
So if you're a consigner and you consider yourself a pretty active collector that's, familiar with the ebbs and flows of the market, and you pay attention to the way things are selling online, what would you tell that person that the limits of what they can take away from these prices realized that they're tracking online, and how that relates to the coins that they have that they're trying to sell?
Yeah, you can get a good idea, but you don't necessarily get the whole idea. A lot of times you look at a coin and you look at the image of the coin and say, oh, that coin's a bright white Morgan dollar. It sold for $3,500. Why did the one right before it sell for $2,500? That was a bright white coin. Well, you don't really understand why there are so many anomalies in the sales. You may not know the market. The coin market is something that's very difficult to read, and unless it's someone that's really in there day and night and is really active in it, you don't really get the entire feel of what is going on. You can get the general idea of what nice-looking coins are selling for, and you can compare that, but you're not going to know the difference in the minute differences in quality if you haven't seen the actual coins in the sale. I mean, we see such a huge disparity between cat quality coins and non-cat quality coins, and the more inconsistent grading can be, that is a huge difference in collecting between now and 30 years ago. I mean, there are some very small differences, and that's why there's so many people that sit there and just make a living by buying and selling out of the auctions. Is that these minute differences are something that a collector that's only casually doing it and hasn't spent a lifetime working at it really cannot exactly get 100% of what they need from it. And there's also huge differences in marketing, and if people had a big collection, sometimes coins will end up going for too much. You have instances like the Missouri cabinet sale. I mean, you get a lot of hype on a collection like that, and it's a huge deal, and everybody gets really excited. So all the coins go really strongly because you never know if you're going to have a chance to buy that coin again. But that's the kind of thing that you might not be able to compare. Let's say you had an early half cent, you might not be able to compare these days. Okay, this one, the Missouri cabinet, sold for $40,000. Why is mine only worth $20 or $25? Well, that's the difference in the marketplace. That's something that's really hard to glean if you're really not in the market professionally day and night.
If you're a seller, is it ever a good idea to take an advance against the estimated price that the auction house thinks your collection will bring?
If you need the money and it's a necessity, sure. As a coin auction company, we don't want to be a bank. That's generally why, in most cases, we will try not to charge interest. If you need an advance and, you're being fair with us, and, I don't want to be a bank. I mean, a lot of places, you see a lot of financing arms that have developed amongst the major auction houses. And, they have these huge lines of credit, and it pays them to give out money at more than what they're paying, et cetera. But, and if you need the money, and, okay, maybe you'll end up getting a little bit less for the coin, but you really have to weigh your needs compared to what the situation is. Some people need advance, and the coin needs to go to an auction. Okay, we'll work with you. But it's obviously a costly expense when you're really, if you have to have the money and you're selling the coin, it can get fairly costly there. But if you have other options of getting the money, you probably should consider that before going into it with the coins. But if you have to have an advance based on your coins, okay, we'll work with you. It's just, it's not something I would recommend, but sometimes, necessity is the mother of invention, I guess. But sometimes you have to do it.
In today's market, do you recommend reserve or no reserve auctions?
Oh my, that is a very good question. I am not a staunch believer in no reserve auctions, whether the coins are mine or someone else's. Do I believe that sometimes it will get more attention? Yes. Do I think that you will have esoteric coins sometimes that you should probably put a reserve on because they will fall through the cracks at any auction? Yes, I do. I think that sometimes you have to wait for the right buyer, and the auction companies have a responsibility to the consignor to help them get the most money for the coin and to help them get a amount that's fair. I mean, there have been situations where sometimes a coin it hasn't been promoted, or hasn't been marketed appropriately, and when you get these huge auctions across the board these days, it's a scary thought. I mean, when you have so much of your net worth tied up into it, and then you went into a coin, and then you put it in with a no reserve, you know what? It makes me nervous too. That's one reason we offer a guaranteed auction program. Our guaranteed auction program is say, okay, we'll guarantee you that you'll receive at least this amount for the coin or a certain percentage of the final sales price. We don't charge a buyer's fee, so we try to make it really simple with the numbers, et cetera. But I'm a staunch believer in, okay, if you're going to put a coin in with no reserve, get a guarantee. I'm not afraid to tell you that I will guarantee you at least this amount for the coin because, if you don't have that, what is your if there's a catastrophic incident, what is your downside? Okay, you know what? At least you had a downside. We're going to protect you with that. And that's part of what we believe in, is that every coin does have a value. And I don't necessarily promote no reserve sales unless I know that the coin's going to bring enough money. But how do you really go about it? And the only way I see around it is going through a guaranteed auction. You can put a reserve on a coin, but I also understand that you don't want to have a coin in your auction that's reserved too highly, and thus you charge a buyback fee based on that reserve. The auction company has to be able to cover their expenses somehow, so I can understand that. But I'm a firm believer in saying, okay, get a guarantee on every coin that you sell.
I think it's important for people to realize dealers pay attention to other auction houses. And while things, can certainly slip through the cracks, most dealers I know relentlessly scout out coins and make plays for coins at auctions. And I, it's been said, and I believe it's true, that dealers make most of their money on the buying side of the coin transaction and not the selling side. There's no such thing as a Santa Claus in numismatics, but professional numismatists are always looking for values at auctions. Every coin has its own unique value, and it takes a great deal of experience and practice, even when looking at two coins in the same grade, to know which one has that little extra pop to it and which coin is maxed out.
There's a reason that dealers are the largest buyers in public auctions. If you go and do a lot viewing at any major show, you'll see the lot viewing room is full of dealers, and that's because they're at all the major shows, of course. But if you really analyze who the largest buyers are in these auctions, you'll find that in many cases, dealers are there picking apart every single coin in that sale. And even if there's 5,000 coins in the sale, we're there to look at all the coins because every coin, as I said, has a value. And if everything's in with no reserve, they're all going to sell. So it's certainly worth the time and effort to go through and try to find the ones that are going to sell too cheaply. And that's one reason I've always suggested to customers that, if you're going to put it in without a reserve, you've got to make sure that you have some kind of backstop there.
On the flip side, since public auction records are so readily available and deeply archived, it does pose a challenge to dealers because savvy collectors may more or less be able to source where the dealer bought the coin and for how much. But still, even when a buyer knows this information, they still have to factor in that the dealer has much more cost into their inventory than the straight purchase price of a coin. And besides, it's not always easy to move this inventory, even if it's nice material, even if it's fairly priced, right?
No, it's not. But there have always been ways that people have tried to outwit others with this, and we've always felt that knowledge is important. That's why we publish our auction prices. That's why it's important to see what coins are selling for, and it's important to see the difference between a nice coin and a not so nice coin. Many times the coins that you see in auctions, people put them in new, fresh holders because, they kind of get torn up in these live auctions when people are live viewing. So a lot of times the coins look similar, but the prices are all out there. That's why I think people in the coin business, when in most cases work on a fairly conservative profit margins, because we're not going to be able to be like the jewelry business and sit here and double our money on a coin, because that's irresponsible, because it's not helping out the hobby in the long term. But I think it helps police some people a little bit as well. So I'm in favor of all the information that you can be out there, and it's free in most cases. So
is now a good time to sell coins?
You know what? We're buying and selling coins every day. I find that the market is certainly improved from where it was 2 to 3 years ago. Dealers may not be seeing that. I think the wholesale market is a lot weaker than what it was a year to 5 years ago. But I find that, when you're reaching out to the right customers and you're buying really nice coins, or even just eye-appealing coins, I think it's a great time to sell coins. It seems like they're bringing very fair money, and you may not be getting what you paid for them if you bought them 5 years ago, but you know what? I find that they're bringing a lot more than they were a year or two ago. So I think it's a great time.
Okay, John, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
Well, thanks so much, Charles. I appreciate it.
If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. And remember, you can download every episode of the CoinWeek Podcast for free from the iTunes Store. And if you're at the iTunes Store, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Your comments and reviews certainly help spread the word about the CoinWeek Podcast. For CoinWeek, I'm editor Charles Morgan. Until next time, happy collecting.